Welcome to episode 28 of Petey's Awesome Guest Panel. My guest at this time, let me just say I'm very excited to have because I watched him ever since I was 14. You may know this guy. He has done a lot of work. He has spots in Criminal Minds, Reno 911, and Supernatural. He also won the Best Actor Award for a Grand Jury Award at Outfest 2003, and my favorite role that he has ever done of all time, one of my favorite time, is Drawn Together, in which he played Xander. My guest at this time is Mr. Jack Plotnick. Jack, how are you today?
Hello, Peter. Thank you so much for having me. What an honor. What an amazing lineup of guests you've had on this show. I feel honored to be a part of them.
I'm happy to have you here because you know, like how your character Xander said he was on a never-ending quest to save his girlfriend and boyfriend. Well, I was on a never-ending quest to have you on my show.
Fair enough. Everybody has to have a quest, and I think that's a fairly good one. Look, you achieved it. So what I'm curious is what's your next quest going to be?
Well, my next question is to make sure I get the right good questions to ask, sir. Before we get into the drawn together questions, I do want to ask like a couple other questions, like preliminary questions I had before that, and that is how did you get started into both not only acting, but how did you get started into producing and writing?
Oh, well, you know, I thought I was going to be a musical theater performer. That's what I went to school for, and then I discovered sketch comedy when I was quite young in New York, and I just completely fell in love with it. And I met my comedy writing partner, Seth Rudetsky, while I was doing this off-Broadway musical. And so at a very young age, he and I were constantly writing sketches and putting up comedy shows. So I kind of started to, that just started to feel normal. And those shows that I was doing when I was young, they just grew and grew, and one became a Broadway musical, and another show that I put together with friends became a Sony Pictures movie. That's kind of how you can grow your career, is you got to kind of just start making stuff for yourself for the joy of making it, and then if it's good, it could grow into something really spectacular.
Very cool. And what was the first project you produced?
Well, I mean, I produced a lot of live shows, first out in New York, but then in LA. And I think the first thing that, oh, you know what? I think the first real movie I produced was Girls Will Be Girls, which was, it became a bit of a cult hit. That's what I won the award for. My friend Richard Day wrote and directed it. And he was using a character that I had been doing in my comedy sketch shows named Evie Harris. She's a washed up, alcoholic, sex addict woman who was sort of quasi-famous in the 70s. And I executive produced that. And gosh, I mean, we never in a million years dreamed it would find an audience the way it did, because we made that. It was a totally homemade project. We shot every scene practically in his home. So we turned his bedroom into like a hospital, a diner. And anyway, it really took off, and we made a sequel, and we're hoping that comes out next year. It's really dirty, but I have a really naughty sense of humor, as you can tell if you've ever seen me on Reno 911, but of course Drawn Together. So you know why I love being on that show.
Oh, bless you, sir, because I totally appreciate that type of humor, because I like that humor too.
Yeah.
I do want to ask, so you just mentioned Reno 911. What were your memories of doing that show?
Well, I actually did, Reno 911 is a creation of a comedy group called The State. And in particular created by Tom and Ben Garant. Anyway, so this group of incredibly talented, funny people did a pilot for Fox that I was on called Hey Neighbor. And I was a series regular role. This was the pilot they did right before they did Reno 911. So we made it. It was so funny. It was so good. And Fox didn't pick it up, and which was heartbreaking as usual. And then the very next show they did was Reno 911, and that went, but I wasn't a series regular on that one. But then, they were sweet enough to remember me, and they said, you know, Jack, anything you want to do, bring in your characters. We'd love to have you. And so the first character I did was this. I didn't even love the character, but the second character I brought in a character who has a mustache. He's kind of based on this sketch I used to do where I was Geraldo Rivera. But anyway, and it was this guy who was just a total, well, he was a bit of a pedophile. I mean, he was very attracted to mothers and their children, like either. Anyway, so they were tickled by it, and the first one I did of him was he was running a haunted house out of his own home for Halloween. And anyway, it went really well, and I ended up playing that character on the show. Every season, I would do a couple appearances as him. His name was Steve, and he's I just did him in the Reno 911 on Quibi, so you can see in the Reno 911 on Quibi, which by the way was just picked up for a second season. And anyway, in that one, I'm pretending to be an airline stewardess, you know, in order to feel up the passengers on the plane. So anyway, I did do the Reno 911 movie, but oh my God, I was so sick. I was sick as a dog, like terrible flu. And the scene was, my character was so I think he was swimming in the pool of a retirement community, uninvited, like just in a Speedo. And it was funny enough, but I was so sick. And I just remember standing in that freezing cold pool, just shivering. And anyway, so you can watch it, I think, on the DVD extras, but it didn't, they cut a number of sketches, and that was when they cut. But as far as memories of being on that show, it's just basically how much I love them. And because they really are just the nicest group of people. I love improvising with them because, you know, they give you space to be funny, but if there's a moment of silence, they come in and they keep the scene moving and they throw something new at you. So what else could I share about that? There's a scene where I play a deputy who was shot in friendly fire on his first day at work. And I love that character, but you could never play that character today because it's very PC, but you can see this scene online, and they bring me a puppy, which I try to eat. And and I thought that was really fun. And this poor little puppy, like, it didn't know that it was getting eaten by me, so it didn't panic. But I thought that was really fun, and we were laughing very hard on set every time I would stick its head or its paw in my mouth. Yeah, so anyway, it's a lot of fun doing that show.
Memories of doing Supernatural.
Oh, you know, some shows I was a big fan of, and so while I was on the show, I was freaking out, like, I can't believe I'm here. And then other shows, like Supernatural, I just hadn't seen it. So I really didn't know much about it, and I know it has a really big and loving audience, but I just didn't know much about the show. But it was, you know, I've gotten to die on screen a number of times, and it was definitely one of my top 2 favorite deaths. What a way to go. I had to stab myself in the neck with a pencil and bleed out. And I always love when you get to do something like that because it means you get to visit a special effects house. And so where they had to make, you know, a replica, like a fake neck for me with a pencil sticking out. And so basically I had a real pencil, and up until the moment when I stabbed my neck. And then I had, I think, a retractable pencil to stab my neck. And then we cut again. And then there was a pencil that was stuck, you know, literally just stuck to a fake neck with a blood pump. And so on action, I just pretended that I just stabbed myself, and basically I just let go of the pencil, and then the blood pours out, and I got to pass out, and then there's just a pool of blood around me. And it's very exciting when you have moments like that, because you only have one take, you know. I mean, you could do it again, but you know they'd be furious because they have to clean everything up. And the only scene that comes to mind that was more, you know, high pressure in terms of one take than that was last year I did an episode of 911 Texas, wait, 911, anyway, that 911 show that takes place in the South. Anyway, I had to run away from an exploding building, and me and Rob Lowe are running away from a building. The building explodes for real, and then we run towards the camera and then we're in a close-up and we keep talking. So that was really scary because you know, they weren't going to redo that. And anyway, I remember after the building exploded, Rob Lowe was as giddy as I was. Like, I think he actually high-fived me. You know, it was that kind of like, you don't get to have those kind of true Hollywood experiences very often. And what could be more Hollywood than running away from a building that explodes behind you? But as far as Supernatural goes, we shot it in Canada, and I really liked the guy I worked opposite against. Both of them, they were both really nice. But I don't have any particular story about working with them, other than the fact that I was impressed that they were both nice guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
Both of them.
I gotta say this too, Jack, because I absolutely love this movie. Like, I mean, my friend showed me about this movie, and I had no idea you were in it though, and that is Rubber, the movie Rubber. I love that movie. I love that.
It's a real stoner movie. It's so weird, and I hear that a lot of people like to watch it while they get stoned. I'm just kidding that you are, but yeah, that was a very interesting script that really not many people were responding to, because my agent sent me the script, and he had never directed a film in the US before, Quentin. He was a famous DJ in France, but he wasn't known as a director yet. So they sent me the script, and my agent literally says, you don't have to go in on this if you don't want to. Because I have a feeling a lot of people were saying, I don't get it. A tire comes to life and makes people's heads explode. But I read the script, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm in. Like, I just loved it. I loved it. And so I was thrilled to go in. I was the first person they cast. I wasn't the lead role, but I was the first person they cast. And the director, I just adore him. And he has such a unique vision. And he makes movies like no one else does, because you can't make movies like that in sort of the Hollywood system, because they're so weird, you know? And I love that. I love that he makes the movies he wants to make. And so he actually, when we were done with that one, and we had a great time going to Cannes with that, and the whole experience was really fun. He wrote the lead role in his next film for me. And, you know, as an actor, that's a dream come true when you get a call from a director and he says, hey, I wrote the lead role in this film. Do you want to do it? And you're like, yeah, that was called the movie Wrong. But if you like the movie Rubber, what I can tell you about that experience was I knew they didn't have a lot of money. And when I want to do something, I'm just like, okay, I'm doing it. I'm here, and I don't care. Like, I'm pretty easygoing because I want to be there, or I wouldn't do it. And I remember I showed up on set, and it was in the middle of the desert, 5 a.m., freezing cold, no trailer, nowhere for me to be. And I'm just standing in the desert with very few. It was a very small crew, and they're like, okay, well, we just, you know, we're waiting for this piece of equipment or whatnot. And I just saw a ferny pad is what they're called, but it's basically a heavy blanket that they use to cover equipment as they move it to set. And I just literally out in the middle of nowhere, desert, 5 a.m., freezing cold, I just sat under the blanket on the ground. And I loved it because it was an adventure. And that was a hard film to shoot because it was so cold out there. And we would put heating, the things you break and they heat up, we would put them in our clothing as a way to try to keep warm. And then there's a scene with a turkey, and the turkey trainer said, there's nothing you can train a turkey to do. That's how stupid they are. So she said, all I really can do is just corral it. And so we're in this hotel room set with this turkey that my character has, and all of a sudden it poops. And the smell, it could make your eyes melt. I mean, I've never smelled something that bad. And I smell it because I'm close to the turkey, and I'm like, oh my God. And I turn, and everyone else in the room hasn't noticed. And I'm like, why haven't they noticed? And I realized, because the smell is so bad, it's moving slowly across the room. And I watch them, and these people are like, oh my God. So it's just a cloud of turkey poop. So we just all cleared out of the room. The only other time that happened was a commercial I did for Milk, which was a big campaign where I played an alien on a spaceship with a cow. I did 5 of these. Anyway, it was a perfectly white spaceship set. The cow is there. I'm there in full alien makeup, and it took a dump that splashed cow poop all over the interior of this perfectly white spaceship.
Oh man.
And we all just, okay, and I just walked off the set because it was like, well, I guess they won't need me for about a half hour. But I love that you love Rubber, because I love the movie and I love Quentin Dupieux. And if you haven't seen it, the next movie he did called Wrong, I star in that as a guy who loses his dog. And it's just as weird, a little, yeah. And William Fichtner's in it, and he's genius in the movie.
I gotta check that out. And before I get into before we talk about Joining Together, I just want to get your thoughts on your appearance on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, you know, I'm so frustrated because when I did that show, again, I wasn't a fan of it yet. It wasn't until after I did the show that it became my, like, it is my maybe second favorite show of all time. But when I got the role, I would just like walk around Sunnydale set, like, oh, here's Sunnydale. And it just didn't mean anything to me. So it was so wasted on me. But of course, I did love doing it. And I knew it was a big show. I just hadn't been watching it. And I have the honor of being the only human killed by a Slayer, which is kind of cool. I was the deputy mayor of Sunnydale, I think in season 3, and Buffy and Faith kill me by mistake. Anyway, so you know how you get stabbed by the stake. And on the day that we shot, they come up to me, you know, when you get stabbed by that stake, as a lot of actors do on that show, a man comes up holding the stake and he shows you, look, don't be scared, it's retractable, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not scared. Then they say action. She stabs me in the chest. Okay. It might be retractable, but it's still a stake that you're getting stabbed with. In other words, it fucking hurt. Like, it really hurts. You don't die because it's retractable, but anyway, it hurt. And then I had to throw myself backwards against a dumpster, and I had this plastic thing they put on my back so it wouldn't hurt as bad. And it just so happened that for my close-up of my death, Joss Whedon happened to be on set, and I love Joss Whedon, and he said something I'll never forget. He said, that was a really good death. So I hold that, you know, you have those moments where you just go, wow, like that was really cool that he said that, because people die, like 10 people die per episode. So I love that he said that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about like Join Together, because I grew up watching Join Together when I was 14 years old. Like, I remember when it debuted in 2004. And one episode actually aired on my birthday, and that was the Terms of Endearment episode, where you remember with Foxy, I think Captain Hero goes into the wheelchair. That aired on my 60th birthday, that episode.
Oh, wow. And you watched it on your birthday?
Yep, I watched it on my birthday. And I had on the show, I've had former alumni of Drawn Together. I had Matt Silverstein, Dave Jesser, and Jordan Young. I interviewed them. I also got to interview, because he played the main antagonist, Scott, in the Drawn Together movie. I had Vernon Wells on. And now I have the man that gave us Xander. And I do want to ask, because I love Xander theme episodes, because when I watch an episode like with Xander, though, I feel like there's a lot of heart. Like, you put a lot of heart into it, and when you perform as Xander, it comes off very like natural. You're very charismatic, Mr. Plotnick, and I just feel like it's an episode that's all about heart. Like, it doesn't feel like you're reading from a script, reading the characters in it. It's like you're bringing the character to life.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. I really appreciate you saying that. That's the first and only cartoon series I've been on, so I'm honored that you say that. Yeah.
And I think you'd be proud of me on this one, sir, because the first ever Drawn Together episode I watched was a Xander theme episode. It was Gay Bash.
I got the part, and the next day I was doing Gay Bash. Like that, it would just happen so fast. So I love that episode, and that episode actually was nominated for a GLAAD award, because it really was an incredibly beautiful way to illustrate the pain that some kids go through, you know, coming out of the closet. So it's an incredible episode because it's so funny, but it's really also pretty heavy stuff. How Xander keeps trying to kill himself, but he can't because he has so many lives. I mean, that is a beautifully written episode. So that's neat that it was the first one you watched. Yeah, you know, the reason why I got that audition was because I wasn't a cartoon voice actor ever. But I had done, I was a series regular on a TV show on Fox called Action that the writers have drawn together. I love those guys so much that they were like writer's assistants, or they were like writers on the show, but at a low level. They were very young. Anyway, so they had actually either cast the role of Xander or were gonna cast Xander with a different performer. And my understanding was that it just wasn't working. Like, I don't know, maybe the performer wasn't gay, and so maybe the voice he was doing was a little too sort of cliche, the cliche gay voice. I'm not sure, but the point is, they were going to go with somebody much more well-known, and it just, for whatever reason, the voice wasn't working, and so they went out and started looking for maybe somebody who, I have a feeling they probably were kind of looking for somebody who was actually gay for the role, because anyway, so they brought me in, and I knew I had to like come up with a voice because I couldn't just use mime. And it's actually kind of interesting how I found Xander's voice. I was sitting in the waiting room and I knew I was about to go in, and I was thinking about the characters I had in my toolkit, you know, maybe from my comedy sketch days. And there were two characters I've been doing in sketches. One was this teenage boy who makes prank calls, and he talked like this. He was like, "Oh my God, man, we're making prank calls." And then I had a teenage girl character who was like this, and her name was Bethany, and she was like really embarrassed all the time. And so what I thought I would try when I went into the audition was to kind of bounce back and forth. And so when you listen to Xander's voice, that's what I'm doing. I'm bouncing back and forth between a teenage boy and a teenage girl. So it sounds like, "I'm Xander, and I'm on a never-ending quest to save my girlfriend." So you see what that does.
Yes.
And so I never wanted to be one thing. I thought, you know, it'd be good to keep the tension of kind of bouncing back and forth between the two.
Very cool. And what I liked about Drawn Together too is that, like, it was a blended crew, because you had established voice acting veterans like James Arnold Taylor, Jess Harnell, Tara Strong, and then you got rising stars like you and Abby McBride, and then you got and also Adam Carolla, because really Adam Carolla, the only thing he did with voice acting was Family Guy and Crank Yankers.
Yeah, when you know, most episodes I did completely by myself, which I actually love doing that, because then you can like just say the line like 5 times in a row and just like find a line reading you like. And I like that. But the more established performers really loved when we would all get together and perform an episode together, which isn't really the normal way to do it, but we did do it that way for a couple episodes. And the more established people love that because they don't usually get to do that. And I would just be so nervous because like the people on Drawn Together voiced every cartoon I love, you know? And I would just like, it was very like daunting to perform with them because I have a tremendous amount of respect for them. And those 3 years were incredible because I was in love with the show while I was on it. And that doesn't happen very often, where you're on a show and you're like, this is my favorite show, and I'm on it.
I could say too that, I mean, Xander has so many great lines though. I mean, did you have like a top 3 like favorite lines you delivered as Xander, or any of your favorite lines?
Shit, I wish oh, darn it. You know, it's been a while since I've watched it, and of course, my computer doesn't play the DVD I have anymore, so it's been so long since I've watched it. There were definitely lines that I loved, where I would just, something about that line reading just was so unplanned. And I remember there was something about a candy machine, where I'm talking about the candy machine, and Claire is just like, "Oh, fuck off, Xander."
I think I remember the line. It was like the episode when you guys came back for season 2, and then you're gonna put Strawberry Sweet Cake to jail, and you're like, "I'm gonna put you behind candy bars." I'm like, and she's like, God damn it, I hate you. Oh,
Oh God, I miss it so much. I love that show.
me
I
too.
love the relationship of the characters. I love how they like Xander and they hate him. I love being Xander. I love the fact that he's awesome and he's also terrible. And I love the episode when he and the Superman character
Captain Hero?
get together. Yeah, and I do love I love the coming out, and then I love when they're showing him pictures and he's like, oh shit, I don't remember any of the lines. I apologize. I also love the episode when he runs away and there's that weird ending where we're all dressed like the cats from the musical Cats. Like that episode is so delicious when Xander runs away and Hammy makes him pimps him out as a whore.
That's the Join Together After School special.
Yeah.
I love that.
It was great when I get to sing. I loved getting to do musical numbers. In particular, I feel like I really loved that Lion King spinoff number I did with I forget what it was called. But there was only one joke that like I love the humor and because I love really, really dark humor, but there was one joke that I turned down and I felt terrible turning it down. But I just said, oh, I don't think I can say this. And I tell you, I was basically willing to say anything. But do you want to know what the joke was?
What was the joke?
Okay. Xander had to say, are you kidding? I'm as straight as ... That was the joke they were looking for. And the line that was written said, I'm as straight as the seams on the AIDS quilt. And like, oh guys, I love you. I can't say that. And then so we came up with, I'm as straight as Cher's bangs. But then in the end, they cut the joke. Like, that's just how it works. Like, if you can't find a really great punchline, you just move on. There's a million jokes you can tell. But other than that, I mean, I would say and sing anything. I love that Clum Babies episode. I mean, what is more disgusting and outrageous than that? That he spits up a giant cum ball. Like,
Oh,
yeah.
and then the Bible vegetables.
Yeah. I mean, I just can't believe it ended, and I have to figure it ended because maybe Comedy Central thought it was too expensive. Because I know it was, I don't know what Dave and Matt told you, but I thought it was like the top-rated cartoon for, like, you know, young men when it got canceled. So it's a shame. I wish they'd bring it back.
Me too. And I even told Dave and Matt this, and Jordan Young. I told them that I was like really pissed off of what the EW wrote about Joining Together. When they sent that letter, I was so pissed off like that they wrote that, because how could you trash a great show? Like the humor is amazing. I mean, I always thought Matt and Dave were comic geniuses.
What did it say? Basically, was it just saying that it was in bad taste?
Yeah, it was just a negative letter saying that Joining Together is so bad for you. ...
That gets a big eye roll. You know, yeah, like little kids shouldn't be watching it, and maybe some parents let their kids watch it because they saw a cartoon and thought it was okay, and little kids shouldn't watch it. But if you're 16 and over, I mean, it sounds like that person doesn't have a dark sense of humor, and then nothing you could do. But I mean, look, there's gross out humor done well, and then there's gross out humor not done well. And Drawn Together is the best gross out humor.
I agree.
And that person probably thinks any gross out humor shouldn't even exist.
I agree with you, Jack, and I love the humor in it, because they put joke on joke on joke, and by that I mean, like, there was an episode where live action cow, I think it was called The Tales of Two Cow, which you were a part of the B plot with when you took Tooth to Fat, Xander took Tooth to Fat camp.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah,
That was great. You and Sarah Strong have great dialogue. I mean, you have great dialogue with all of them. Like,
it's a great relationship between them. Yeah.
But there was a joke in that episode where, like, Waldorf takes tennis balls with peanut butter on it, and he goes, "I put peanut butter on my balls," and he says, "So you get chased after me," and then he paused, "When they're up my ass." I'm like, oh, these guys are total geniuses with their jokes.
No, I couldn't agree more. This is why it was my favorite show. The only other show I can think of with jokes that come that fast is like 30 Rock. Like shows aren't that quick-witted.
No.
And when one comes around, I'm just so friggin' happy, you know?
Did you see
Uh,
did you see that other show, Brickleberry, on Comedy Central?
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay, because I think they have similar, not as great as Drawn Together, but they had similar humor to Drawn Together.
Yeah. No, I hadn't seen that one.
And I watched the episode, the episode Gay Bash. Your delivery in that whole freaking episode is just amazing. Like I remember in the beginning, the episode Gay Bash of Drawn Together, and I remember there's one scene where like they show the sewing machine, and then Xander goes, "I'm so highly happy we have a sewing machine. I've been looking forward to finishing my tea cozy. Have you ever seen anything so adorable?" I'm like, oh, Jack is just nailing this, absolutely nailing this.
Well, I love that you say that because, you know, Gay Bash was essentially really the first episode I had many lines in. And so I was still trying to find the character. And so basically, I mean, that just tells me, I guess it worked because, you know, I was just kind of like, I really didn't know what Xander was, but I knew what those two characters were, my teenage boy and my teenage girl. And so, like, I was just mixing them together. And that's like, you know, like the end of that line, isn't it adorable? Is like, that's the teenage girl. But then, oh, I'm so excited to have a, you know, so I was in my heart, didn't know what I was doing, but I guess it was working. So that's good.
I agree. And like, and we mentioned before there was one joke that you didn't like, that you weren't a fan of, but that was my next question too. Like, were there any jokes that you found, like, aside from that one, that you found offensive or like had a problem, like not a problem?
No, that's why I think the show is so well done, is to create offensive humor that has a good spirit behind it, you know? And that's what I love about their jokes. It's like, even if a joke is cruel, it's a character being cruel to another character, and you can feel the audience knows that the cruel character isn't correct. They're just being an asshole, you know? And like, so I thought that they handled, you know, and because I'm gay, I was particularly sensitive to not wanting to put out anything that would make young people, anything that was quote unquote homophobic. And the fact that they could write this gay character that in some ways was really awful while he was sweet, and also have other characters not like him at times, but never have it be because of his gayness, that's really amazing. And yeah, like Hammy might have made some jokes, but they were never offensive to me. And I told you, like, the only joke I had a problem with was because it was poking fun at AIDS, and for me at that time, it was too soon or whatever. So no, I never had any problem with anything. I was just so blown away by how smartly they were able to be offensive, and how they knew who to pick on. Like, they didn't pick on the underdog. And the fact that, like you said, like the episodes really in the end were about friendship and had all this heart, even while characters were behaving so outrageously.
And I agree on that. And with the Xander though, like I did want to ask you though, like, because
I love seeing Xander. Don't forget your question, but I was just going to see. So don't forget your question. I was just going to say, one of my favorite things is seeing Xander fan art, which I don't see much anymore because this show's been canceled. But when the show was on, some people were drawing some pretty X-rated images of Xander, like fucking other like Disney characters. Google it. It's awesome. And I love, it's a dream come true when I see somebody in a Xander costume. Like that's just, I love that. And so I've seen some of that too, people dressing up as him, and that's just really cool. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh no, I was gonna say, well, like I do with all my guests. Like last night I had the Cam Clark who voiced Liquid Snake and Leonardo, the original Leonardo in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I paid tribute to him by, you know, wearing the sunglasses of one of his characters. Today I'm paying tribute to you and Xander by wearing all blue Scheme. because Xander's colors were blue.
Yep, he has that little vest, the little thong thing, and
I did like,
look at that. Without realizing it, I wore blue too.
Yeah,
so
we're both Xander. We're both Xander mode.
Xander mode, yeah.
I did like you, like, there's some deliveries that I absolutely love. Like in the after school special, I remember you saying to them when they were being mean to Xander at the cast, you're like, you guys are such assholes, and not in the good way. I was like, oh man, there's that one, and one I always die laughing.
Oh, I realized I need.
I'm sorry.
No, please tell me the line. I love hearing these lines again.
My favorite all-time Xander line will always be when you said the most funniest words ever. Grapes are fun.
I know that phrase caught on in such a way. Like, I just felt like it really stuck out to people, and they kind of, and I don't know why, but I love that you love it. I like it, but I'm just like, it's so weird. It's surreal. What is it about it that tickles you? The fact that he's so simple?
It's the fact that he's so simple, because simple, innocent, and also the joke that was made with it. Like, Captain Hero said, all this guy talks about is going on never having the quest to save his girlfriend. Then they cut to a montage of him saying stuff like, where are the paper towels? Oh no, my roster's broken. And then he goes, grapes are fun.
Oh, I love that. That is so clever. They really did such a good job of taking the way that reality shows are edited to like make someone look bad. That's really clever. But also there's something so stupid and annoying about somebody who would say grapes are fun and yet sweet at the same time. So that's such a lovely character to get to be, somebody stupid, annoying, and sweet.
They said, like, out of all the cast members that joined together, that Xander is the most innocent and the most good nature of all of them. Because Clara has a dark side. Toon has a dark side. Foxy even has a dark side. Spanky has a dark side. Captain Hero certainly has a dark side, and so does Singlet. But Xander, and also Wulder Sockbat also has a dark side. But when you look at Xander, to all the other cast members, he's the only one that tries to be good-natured and innocent.
No, that's beautiful. I hadn't thought of that, but you're right, because Clara's a raging racist. Like, I mean, you'd think the princess would be the sweetest, but she isn't. Yeah. No, I did really start to get that, especially with the episode, that wonderful episode where we're stuck in a mall parking lot. And I really loved that episode. It was like a very special episode because they're stuck in their car in a mall, which is so uninteresting, but they made it so interesting. And that was an episode where I really started to realize, oh, like Xander's like kind of the rock of the group, in that he's the only one who's like maybe trying to like get everyone out of the situation because everybody else is so crazy or self-centered but Xander has enough wits about him to actually want to try to save everyone.
Yeah, like even like in that whole episode, all he kept, he cared about was unity. Like, in fact, he said, like, he kept saying it, and even though Spanky threatened him in that episode, but he kept saying, we're all together, drawn together.
I love that when like Xander loves to say that, and then everybody's like, you fucking.
I hate you.
Yeah, it's a great combination of characters bouncing off each other. And I was personally so obsessed with Toot because I just felt like I'd never seen that character in my life. Like, there was something about Toot that, I don't know, maybe because I'm gay, but she really rubbed me the right way. I really loved her. I love when she was feeling sick, so she raises her dress above her head. Oh no, I can't remember why the dress is above her head, but anyway, she throws up. And you see the throw up soaking through the dress. Oh, she's so gross. But yeah, anyway.
I did like also with Xander though, like there's so many running gags with Xander though, like the Craig jokes, because isn't it Craig?
Right.
I love those jokes, and also I noticed, like, out of all the characters aside from Toot, that Xander's the one that the character screams a lot or just talks loud. Like, I mean, when you have to scream or like yell, like, what is your opinion of doing like a scene where you have to scream and yell a lot?
Yeah, I love it because I don't know, as I said, I began my career in musical theater, so I spent 4 years training my voice, and so I can yell all day and I'm pretty fine. And I loved it because it's just fun to have to freak out and be screaming. And I totally forgot that. But yeah, I did a lot of screaming on that show. Totally forgot about that, but you're right. But it doesn't bother me because I don't lose my voice. I tend not to. Yeah.
And I did like
It's so easy. It's like,
Jack. I did like also like whenever Xander was mad and he would curse because it's a rarity for Xander to curse. So he would get like when you get angry at Xander, it's so like amusing because Xander never gets mad. Like I remember like there was 2 times he would go motherfucker, like he would say motherfucker. Wait, and it's like I think there's an episode with Super Nanny where he tells Captain Hero, well, why don't you just take the fucking naughty stool with you?
now, did you watch an uncensored version? Is that how you were able to hear the words?
No, I watched the DVD and they're all uncensored on the DVD.
Oh, I gotta watch. As I said, I haven't watched in so long because my computer doesn't have a DVD player anymore. I gotta watch that because it would. I don't know if I've even watched the uncensored versions, and it'd be really fun to hear all the actual cursing.
Oh, okay. And I think I'm gonna see if I can try to find a link to a site where you can watch it though. Like, I think they stream episodes and the movie too.
Oh yeah, that movie was terrific. You know, I played the old wizard at the end of the movie. That old wizard. They go to, huh?
That was you?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I loved that. I played a number of like little side voices, but nothing as interesting as the wizard was my favorite like voice they let me do. Yeah.
Can I hear that wizard again?
Voice. What?
Oh, I was gonna say, can I hear that wizard sound, the wizard voice?
Well, I forget it, but I'd have to guess that I talk like this. I mean, something like that. I don't remember. It's been so long since I've watched the movie.
That reminds me of the character like in Clum Babies. There was a bearded man. He said, "Can you hear the old timers?" Was that you?
Don't remember.
I
don't remember, but I gotta say that was pretty damn good what you just did. Do you do cartoon voices?
I always wanted to be a voice actor growing up, though. Like, it's just hard. You know, the profession seems very hard, though. I mean, I've interviewed so many voice actors, like, and being a voice actor was one of my biggest dreams. Like, I mean, I watched, you know, old, like, videos of, like, Dawes Butler, Mel Blancs, Don Messick, even, you know, Billy West. I mean, Billy West did the show, too.
Well, you know, the quickest way to get a career is to just start doing it. And you could literally rewrite a cartoon, like a Bugs Bunny cartoon, and put new voices in and just put them into the characters' mouths. And all of a sudden you've got your voice doing a whole bunch of different characters.
Yeah.
And you put it online and you just, you know, I'm a big believer that artists, the best way to get a career is to just be making content. And so even though I work as an actor, I'm always making silly content. And I have, you know, on my YouTube channel, on my Instagram, and on Facebook is where I put out all these like 30-second to maybe 2-minute long short comedy films. I'm making these all the time because that's kind of like, when you're doing your art and the universe sees you doing it, like it sends you gifts, like all of a sudden you book a job, or for you, it might be that the right person hears it and says, hey, you got a really versatile voice and maybe I could represent you as your agent. Like you never know. But until you just do it, you'll never know if you can do it.
You're right. And I definitely, those were words of encouragement, Jack, because like, I definitely always want to be a voice actor. I mean, growing up, I was always a huge fan. You remember this gentleman, Jack, the late great Phil Hartman? I was a huge fan of his work. Like he played. Yeah, it's unfortunate what happened to him. Like, I've always been a fan of his. Like, he did these 2 characters I absolutely loved growing up. Troy McClure on The Simpsons. He's like, hello, this is Troy McClure. You may remember me from such movies as Locker Room Towel Fight, The Blinding of Larry Driscoll.
That's a good Phil Hartman.
There's that, and he did the lawyer on the show, like, and he was so sneaky. He's like, Mrs. Simpson, I like to take your son to a chiropractor specialist. He might have soft tissue that your boy's unaware of.
Peter.
Yes, Mr. Blunt.
We should make, you know, take a minute of any cartoon from any decade and just rewrite it and stick your voice in.
I'm gonna do that demo though. I gotta find the right equipment to do that, and I'm also gonna pay tribute to you by doing my Xander impression though. Like
Okay.
to pay
I
to,
would love to hear it.
to pay honor to you. Like I'll do three of my favorite ones,
Okay.
and it is strong Xander, strong Xander, breathe. There's that one. There's the let's see. There was the one where it was like, what was it like? Packy, oh, I know that you and your ex, my girlfriend and your ex are good friends, but they don't need to know that Xander's gay, right? And then my favorite, like, besides grapes are fun, it's I'm so finally happy we got a sewing machine. I've been looking forward to finishing my tea cozy. Have you ever seen anything so adorable?
Oh my God. Here, wait, I gotta do this. There. Can you see
Oh,
that?
I do. I see the hand. Thank you, sir.
That was wonderful. That was so good. Wow. Yeah, you have a very, very versatile voice.
I've been like studying voice acting since I was like young though. I mean, I've always grew up idolizing like, what's
Well,
a
if you have a phone, that's all you need. Just record it in the voice into your phone and put it into iMovie and stick it into somebody's mouth and make, short little videos. Like the more you have, the better you get at it and the better chance you have of being discovered.
okay. I gotta find out. Like, you said a phone, right?
Huh?
You said a phone, right?
Record it into your phone, into a voice memo and send it to your computer and stick it in iMovie.
But we're like as a aspiring voice actor, who would I send the samples to?
Well, first you want to get a whole bunch of samples and then the universe will help you figure out what that will be. But when I first started making my silly Instagram videos, they were only like 30 seconds long. And it wasn't until like my 40th Instagram silly little video, you can't need it to be perfect. You just got to make it and put it up. And if it's bad, you don't have to post it. But anyway, it wasn't until like my 40th video that I started to like really feel like I got it and I was good at it. Now, I'm not bad in the first 40. They're still there to look at the bottom of my feed. But I'm just saying, like, making things, you grow and you get better and you figure out what your voice is and you figure out what your sense of humor is. And, it only took me a couple months until I really felt like, okay, like I feel really good about this. And then you start to have content that's so good that you could potentially share it with a voiceover agent. But, I have a book I wrote. It's a free ebook you can download on my website, which is jackplotnick.com.
Okay.
And you click on the word teachers and it takes you to my free ebook. And it has a whole bunch of chapters that help actors to love what they do and to not have anxiety. As a matter of fact, if anyone out there, if you ever have anxiety, like you get nervous, read this book because the whole first section is how to never be nervous again. But anyway, my point is this. In that book is a chapter called How to Build a Career, where I talk about the universal principles to follow in order to have a big career.
Okay.
The book is called New Thoughts for Actors, so check it out on my website.
Oh, I definitely will. And that book would be great for me because I have bad anxiety problem. I have bad
Oh,
anxiety.
you won't. I had it worse than anyone, and so I had to create a way to get control of my thoughts and therefore my anxiety, and it's all in the first chapter. The first section called The Power of Thought. So you go to jackplotnick, that's my name.com, and you click on teacher, and then you'll see a button to press to download my free book. It's all free. Everything I teach, I do it as a way to give back because I make my living as an actor, but I want to give back and help people to approach their careers in a joyful, healthy, loving way instead of a fear-based way.
That was my next question too. Like I was gonna ask, like if you had voice acting lessons or classes.
No, I never trained as a voice actor, but there really is no such thing as that. It's like acting's acting. Acting is just behaving as if it's really happening. I did train as an actor though, but as far as voice acting goes, you could be a voice actor. You have funny, interesting sounding voices you do. There's no training you have to have, but there are good trainers you could go to, but what you don't want to do is go to a bad one and waste all this money on somebody who really doesn't even know what they're doing.
I understand. And with Xander, though, I'm going to give you the highest compliment, though, because Xander is in my top 3 favorite gay cartoon characters of all time, next to Waylon Smithers on The Simpsons.
I'm honored. That means a lot to me that you say that, Peter. And it means a lot coming from you, I know, because you're such a fan of animation. So thank you.
Absolutely, and I can say this too. Like, I mean, Mr. Plotnick, is that you are not only like your acting is just incredible. I mean, you're very versatile. You're one of the most charismatic actors I've ever seen. And whenever you deliver, you deliver like a line or anything, like whether it's Drawn Together or Reno 911, you could tell like you bring the character to life. It's not like you're just reading from this book saying, "Hey, we need you to say this." You bring it literally to life.
Wow. That really, you made me very happy, Peter. I really appreciate that. Thank you for so much for your kind words. And thank you for having me here today. This was so fun. And I only wish I could have watched the episodes more before we did it. But I'm as big of a fan as you are. And this is making me realize that I'm really due to watch all the seasons again.
Absolutely, and if you need like help like trying to figure out like to watch the DVDs again, let me, or even the streaming, just let me know. I'll be happy to help out, like, you know, in any capacity. Before we conclude this interview, because this is an open forum, you can talk about anything you want, say anything you want. The floor is yours, sir.
That's very kind of you. Well, again, you know, I love making comedy shorts, and I got a ton of them on my Instagram, which is @JackPlotnick, or my YouTube channel has them all. You can also see them all on my website. But if you like comedy, check those out, and you could follow me on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. And then I guess I would share with you that as I said earlier, that I made a feature film with Sony Pictures, and I'm very proud of it. And it's really my baby. And you can watch it right now on Stars for free, or you can watch it on Amazon or Google Play, all the different services. But the movie is called Space Station 76. And it's a dramedy, so it's sort of a really dark comedy drama about a group of people living on a spaceship in the future as we had imagined it in the 1970s. So the whole thing looks sort of like that kind of Star Wars Logan's Run kind of thing. And, you know, they have like a robot therapist. Anyway, it stars Patrick Wilson, love him, Matt Bomer, Liv Tyler, and Jerry O'Connell. And that came out in 2014, and now it's online for everyone to watch. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, check that out, Space Station 76.
Very cool. And before you go, sir, can I just get a shout out from Sander himself?
Yeah. Hi. I mean, what should I say? I'm Sander, and I'm on a never-ending quest to save my boyfriend. Ah! Grapes are fun. Right, Craig? Strong Sander.
Thank you so much.
I don't know, am I doing it right? It's been so long.
Okay. Picture perfect. Thank you so much, Mr. Plotnick. And if you want, I will send you a link to this, a copy of this interview for you, so you can have too.
Yes. Thank you, Peter, and also thank you obviously to Matt and to Dave and to Jordan for making Xander and giving me the roles. So
and also,
for it.
I want to say thank you for those countless memories you gave me as a teenager watching Drawn Together.
Thank you. This has been fun. Take care. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Bye.